Hello, I am here with Kelly today. And if you are thinking of moving to France and you have a job that you can do remotely from the US, but you have seen all the controversy in all the forums about, is this okay? Is this not okay? We're going to talk today about, I think, a little known solution to this, which is much cleaner, much more compliant, and much safer actually for your US employer. So I think there's going to be many of you out there that this is going to be a whole new idea about a way to do this and feel like you are on the up and up. For lack
it's the
of
best
a
way to say it.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure. Okay, so to start with, Kelly, if we have another video on the channel of them with their horses that we gave you a little background, but just to catch people up if they haven't seen that video, where did you guys move to France from and what brought you to France?
Yeah, so we came from upstate New York, we had a little farm there, and we moved to France in stages, but we got here in November of this last year. So it was, I think, what we would qualify as being a little faster in our process than most. We pulled it off from when we decided we were coming to France to when we actually arrived was less than a year.
Yeah.
So we did the express lane route.
Yeah, that was us too. I mean, we decided in February and we landed the beginning of August.
Yeah.
So that was 5.5 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it can be done.
It can be done.
Right.
Lots to navigate, but it can be done.
Yeah. And how did you guys end up choosing France?
So it was, when we first started talking about the move, we were looking at other countries, honestly, in the kind of the EU, and then we became responsible. We created a list and boxes that needed to be checked, and France ultimately checked the most boxes, and then, we got away from the box, because it's one thing to check the boxes, but then let's look at the country and the culture and see if that's going to mesh with us, and then once we really started doing the digging, it was over. Like we were like, this is our place, this is where we're going. We just got to learn how to speak the language, which with the Southern accent is going to be a nightmare, but that's all right.
We'll make it.
We'll make it.
Okay, I'm there with you. So you have a job that you were able to do remote. Were you already working remote in the U.S.?
Oh, yes. Yeah. So I work for a nonprofit that does, we do communication education technology for prisons and jails.
Oh, wow.
And so we're a completely remote company. So we're a small company, but everybody's remote.
Okay, so that was kind of a non-issue to start with. You were already working remote.
Yep.
Okay. And then, so you came to France on, correct me if I'm wrong, but a talent visa with a salary portage. Did I just say that right?
The very butchered, I apologize for this. It's a carte bleue talent visa under a portage salarial.
Okay. Oh, no, I think that very nicely done. Yeah. Okay.
Well, we'll see what the comments say.
Yeah. So that is obviously a different visa than a lot of remote workers that we see right now come because France does not have a digital nomad visa like Spain or a few other countries that have developed them. Since the pandemic, the remote workers have kind of been shoehorned into that, the long stay visitor visa, and immigration has sort of said that's okay because the work you're doing, if you're an employee working for an American company that has no ties to France, no customers in France, that's completely separate, so you're not working in the French economy. And immigration in France has kind of said, okay. Whereas there's still, and so lots of people are doing that, but you're a French tax resident now. And so you're going to file your French tax return and your U.S. tax return because, of course, as U.S. citizens, we will file a U.S. tax return forever, no matter where we're living in the world.
Yep.
But the U.S.-French tax treaty means that when, that remote worker who's still working remotely but sitting in France is paying their taxes, their employer's paying their employee taxes, all in the U.S. They're paying their taxes on that, reporting it on their U.S. tax return. And then when they go to do their French tax return, when you will still tell France about your worldwide income, and then you will check a box about where it comes from, which will be foreign employment. So you're still reporting it to France, but as a French tax resident, you're now sitting in France working as an employee, but no one is paying your employee taxes in that situation here in France. And
under a long stay visa.
Under a long stay visitor visa.
Right.
Long stay visitor visa, right? So sorry, I'm trying to like paint the picture for the current situation before we dive into like why this is solving this problem. So basically, if you're still following me, I'm sorry. This is like a little in the weeds, but it creates this complicated problem where you may be totally in the clear immigration-wise because you're not, you're working on your U.S. employment rights, right? When you moved to France, you didn't give up your right to work in the U.S. And, the U.S. embassy, the French embassy in the U.S., knows you're reporting this. So that's all. But there's this gray, weird tax situation now that is not straightforward, and there's not really a visa to solve this problem. Like you can't just decide, hey, France, I think I'd like to pay this instead in that situation. Like it's not possible. Okay, so this is another solution to that is more compliant on the tax side.
Yes.
That was a very long way to say that. Yeah, so, okay, so tell us about how this situation solves this problem.
Okay, so first I'll say it's in terms of getting this visa, there's more, as you can imagine, paperwork involved.
Yeah.
So the approach I took, and I certainly recommend it, is while you could technically do this on your own, I definitely recommend engaging the services of an immigration attorney, which is exactly what I did. Your good friend Daniel Tostada, his firm, I use them. Funny enough, I did a consult with them after doing a consult with you all. And at that time, I was still thinking long-term visitor visa.
It was kind of, the only possible.
And so I had the consult with Daniel's colleague, Jessica, and she laid out based on the information I gave her about my work, and she's like, okay, well, there's a couple ways that you could do this. And she laid out some options. And funny enough, this carte bleue was like the third option.
Yeah.
But the more I thought about it, I was like, well, and then so I had these, and then that whole issue came out about the taxes saying this side, immigration saying they're not singing from the same sheet of music.
Right.
So I got nervous.
Yeah.
So I started talking to her more about the carte bleue, and as I looked in, I was like, well, this is the route I want to go.
Yeah.
And a big part of why, not just because it's clean, but I think a lot of it also depends on what's your ultimate goal. And our ultimate goal is we're going to live here, and we want to be a part of the French society and French culture, and we eventually would like to work our way up to 10-year card soon, but then also a citizenship.
Yeah.
And if that's your goal, as through your videos and others, you have to contribute to the system.
Right.
And so this is, from minute one, this is the best way to do it while still being able to work for a U.S. company.
Right, yeah. And to kind of like just summarize that, if you haven't seen as many of the backstory of all these visas, right, you're not quite as in the weeds. If you're doing this remote work on the long stay visitor visa, which again is kind of like a big gray area right now, but what you want to remember is while you're living in France, if your long-term goal is citizenship, you're living in France and working, but you're still paying taxes in the U.S. And now they have really gotten much more stricter about that. They want the heart of your economic activity and finances to be centered in France. And part of that is by working here and paying taxes before you apply. So, you might be here be a resident for the correct amount of time if you're working remotely on the long stay visitor visa.
Yep.
But because then basically it's like you've been working in the U.S. the whole time. You've been here.
Yeah.
And so if you were to go and ask for citizenship, even if you've been here for the correct amount of time, they might be like, well, but you haven't really contributed economically. And that would be something that would come into play. So you're really increasing your chances to create a good dossier for that by from the get-go being in that system.
Yeah. And the benefits that come with that. So as a tech, you get all I am a French employee.
Yeah.
Even though I do work for, we'll get into this. Even though I do work for an American company, I'm a French employee.
Yeah.
And so I guess maybe start with maybe the visa itself,
That's exactly
and then we'll get into it.
So tell us about
So the card, and I'm gonna have to look at notes because I can't memorize all this stuff. But
this stuff is like minutia, man.
But so for the carte bleue, there's some criteria you have to meet. So like not everybody necessarily would qualify.
Right.
So you do have to have a fixed or open term contract with a French company. Okay. So that's where salary portage comes in. So we'll get to that.
Okay, yeah.
So you have to have an actual French work contract. So it can't be
like a temporary work contract.
So it can.
It can.
Yeah, so it can be a fixed temporary contract or an open term one.
Okay, but it must be an employment contract.
It must be an employment, a French company.
Okay, yeah. And that's different because I think often in the U.S., I don't know about you, but I never had a contract working as an employee.
Yeah.
Except for when I was working like as a temporary nurse coming in and out. And otherwise, I'm employed or I'm not.
Yeah, there's definitely a learning curve there. I'm still figuring it's a different world. And I guess I should clarify. When I say French company, or a business operating in France, that's legally operating in France.
That's
and all
a good
those
distinction.
Kind of,
Okay. Yep. Okay. So an actual written employment contract.
Right. Work contract. Then, in terms of your own experience, you have to have a 3 years of the way it's phrased, higher education. So like college level education, or 5 years of professional experience that kind of equates to having that education. So. And then this is the big one. You have to meet a gross salary minimum.
Okay.
So your gross salary has to be, right now, this could change based on standards, but right now it is 59,373 euros.
Okay.
Gross salary. Before you even start going down the rabbit hole after that, that's what you're going to have to do base level.
So if you are working a remote job right now, like let's say you're in IT, those have a lot of, right? You're making more than 59,000 euros a year. So do that, you got to do conversion. And you've either been working in that for 5 years professionally, or you have at least a 3-year degree in your field you're working in, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So those. Okay. So if you jump over that first hurdle, what do we do next?
All right. That is definitely where the firm comes in.
Yeah.
So they gather all the paperwork you expect. A lot of it is similar to a long stay visitor visa. But that being said, there's not as much, you don't have to provide the financials that you have to do for a long stay visitor visa, because your work contract is your finances. That saves a huge headache.
Oh man, yeah.
So but that saves one headache. You still have to do the paperwork to get your work contract, which is a whole thing.
Yeah.
And convince your job to do this, which is also a whole thing.
We'll get to those too.
So there's that part of the paperwork. And just like long stay, you need somewhere to land.
Yeah. So you got to have housing booked.
Got to have housing. But from what I could tell, it didn't have that, 3-month minimum requirement.
Interesting.
Yeah, you didn't really have to have that.
Okay.
Another fun thing that you do not have to do on this visa is there's no OFII medical exam when you get here. That does not apply.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another, to me, I'm just going to say it, one of the sexiest things about this is long stay visitor visa is a yearly, so you have to renew every year.
Yeah.
This is, you get a residency permit for up to 4 years.
Right off the bat.
And it plays off of it can be up to 4 years. And it really, the length of your work contract kind of drives that a little bit.
Oh, gotcha.
So, for instance, for us, mine's an open term. So it's not limited. And that's another benefit of salary portage.
Yeah.
And so I've got a 4-year residency.
Oh man, right off
permit.
the bat.
Yeah.
You've got 4 years to just build your life and not worry about immigration stuff.
Yeah. And
amazing.
I don't know if this applies everywhere in France. I'm sure it's a prefecture thing, but I don't. Also because this is niche, and I don't think a lot of people do this one.
Yeah.
We got here mid to late November. So then you have to certify or
validate.
Validate.
Yes. You still have to validate your visa.
You got to validate, because what they do is they give you, it's on your passport, your sticker's going to say, it's going to read like a long stay visitor visa. It'll have the word talent on there.
Yeah.
You got to validate. I did my validation, and I had my approval for my residency permit in less than a month.
Oh, wow.
So I think that also factors in, because there's not that many of them. It was a much faster approval.
Which department are you guys in?
This is 87.
87?
Haute-Vienne.
Oh, Haute-Vienne. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was another big sexy piece. Another big that's very specific to us. So my wife, in the U.S., she worked for the Department of Veteran Affairs. So she got a job. With this visa, she doesn't have to have a job. And your family, spouse, children, they all, for lack of a better term, ride on this visa.
Yeah.
So she also has a 4-year residency card that's tied to mine. Now, that being said, because it is tied to mine, make sure you like your spouse, because if things go wrong,
you don't have a visa anymore.
You're out of luck, right? But so she doesn't have to work.
Yeah.
And so she has the residency permit, but if she wants to work, she can get a French job.
Yeah.
So she can go work at a cafe, or she could do these other things if she wanted to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think of it as like a privilege, but you know, to be a foreigner in another person's country and like be able to have rights similar to what I had in my own. It's like, it feels like a big privilege, like to have the options, right? Because usually I think on a lot of visas, like Daniel said this in the interview we did with him, oftentimes you've got to pick a box and you're going to be in that box for at least 5 years until maybe you can establish get long-term residency. But with this, you have options. You're not in the same kind of box.
Yes, absolutely.
As a spouse of a person on a talent visa.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's just like, it's kind of sky's the limit for her in a lot of ways. And there's no requirement. She doesn't have to prove financials because she's writing on mine. So there's none of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's
You're
more
selling it.
It's more of she's got to prove she's married to me, right?
Oh yeah.
So there's the marriage certificate, but that goes with any visa. Kind of thing, so.
Yeah. If you're sharing any kind of like support or So yeah, totally. Okay. So Carte Bleu, we talked about the requirements.
Yep.
And so now the next thing is like, then how exactly? Oh my gosh. So because in this case, like I think a lot of people who are working on the remote work visa. On the remote work visa. There's no such thing. Sorry. The long stay visitor visa, maybe their employer knows they're in France and maybe they don't.
Right.
There's like, it's probably 50-50 in my experience, right? But with this method, you definitely have got to get your employer involved.
Yes.
So let's talk about like how this worked. Yeah.
So, you want to go with Carte Bleu. Now you got to figure out, okay, French company, how the heck do I pull that off?
Yeah.
Google and other things. So salary portage. The easiest way to explain it is think of them like a professional HR department is really what they are.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happens is, the short description, technically, I don't actually work for my U.S. employer. I'm not an employee of theirs anymore.
Okay.
I am employed by, so the company I use is ITG.
Okay.
And I can talk in a second why I picked them, because there's a lot of salary portage companies.
There are, yeah.
But I work for them. Okay. I'm a consultant for ITG.
Okay.
My U.S. employer does a B2B, business-to-business contract for a consultancy, and then I fill that role.
Okay.
So ITG is basically my professional HR department. So I'm not employed by my U.S. employer, which means they are not directly paying my salary. So they're not subject or at risk of like the French taxes or any of that. That's not their problem.
Their liability.
Yeah, they're doing a B2B contract.
Oh my God, that's so much cleaner.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's often the whole reason that people are nervous to tell their employers that they're moving to France, because then their employer may think, well, I don't know how to handle having a French employee.
Exactly.
And in this case, they don't have to.
They don't have to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, yeah, so how did you choose this agency who would handle this?
Yeah, so Google and just looking at the companies, ultimately I landed on ITG. They are kind of the oldest and biggest name in the game.
Okay.
So really it came down to recognizability, and I wanted something solid because this was, I didn't want to go, there are versions of salary portage so there are fees that come with this that may charge a little bit of a less fee.
Yeah.
But for me, it was more of a peace of mind to use.
Absolutely.
So when salary portage regulations and laws within the French labor code were all being developed and this whole system was being put together, ITG was at the forefront, and they've been guiding it ever since.
Oh, so they're an industry leader.
So it's one of those where it's kind of like you see that name and you know it's legit.
Yeah.
And so I think...
I mean, the whole reason to do this is to feel like I'm doing this legitly. So why wouldn't you go with the company that feels like they have that established presence?
Yes.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense.
And so, so then I reach out to them. Everybody does consults, so you consult with them.
Right.
They also have English speaking staff, so it's not a language barrier.
Okay.
So that was another big.
I'm sure for both
factor.
you and your employer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So spoke to them, just a couple nuts and bolts. Salary portage, the company typically they're going to take 7% as their administrative fee.
Okay. Is that 7% of your gross salary?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So 7% of gross off the top, that's going to them
Okay.
for all the administrative stuff that they're doing as your HR department and being your.
So you're just employing your own little HR department to manage this.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. So they take that off, and then, but going back to, and then they take care of all your taxes. So the U.S. company sends through an invoice to ITG.
Okay.
ITG converts it to euros from dollars. They take off their 7%. They pay taxes. They pay my social charges. They pay everything. I have because I'm on work contracts, they have what we call it a reserve. So a little bit of my check goes into that. And the purpose of that is if I then am in between jobs, I have a cushion. That's mine.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a little savings account for in between job kind of
nice.
thing.
Okay.
And then pension, all of it.
Wow.
And then I am issued a French paycheck from a French company, direct deposited into my French bank account, which also, by the way, doing this visa with a work contract made getting a French bank account much simpler.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, you might even qualify for a mortgage someday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because you have a French job.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like getting an apartment, renting,
Yep.
like everything is easier because they don't, I mean, to viewers, there's no credit scores in France.
Right.
And so a lot of things run on relationships and the reliability of having a French job contract because
Yep.
it's very hard to get fired in France, actually.
Yeah.
And so,
Nice.
yeah, and so that is kind of seen as your credit worthiness, right? Because there's, you have a job and they know you have regular income. So this
Yeah.
is like, it's like having the magic, like something written in the French society's language.
Exactly.
Right?
That's exactly what it is.
You can have lots of money in the bank. Nobody cares unless it's in this form.
It kind of feels like the Willy Wonka golden ticket a little bit, without all the drowning in chocolate and stuff. But
no, it's huge difference.
yeah. So back to like the actual contracting. So the contract between ITG and my employer, like I said, it's B2B. So you set up your monthly, usually you bill it monthly. So you set up whatever you get your salary squared away with your employer, and then you break it down into a monthly gross amount. So, because your U.S. employer, they don't have to take any taxes out, which means they also don't have to pay for your health insurance, anything. So it's just a straight check to another company,
Again,
B2B.
maybe simpler for them in some ways. Yeah.
And then there's a contract between those two. In that contract, you set out, they set out what position they're looking for for me to do. And then, basically the criteria of your job. What do you have to do and cadence of those things. So that's all in that contract. Sign it. Now they are in a contract with ITG.
Okay.
And then, I am let go, so to speak, from my U.S. employer, which feels weird and scary.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, simultaneously, I am signing a contract with ITG, and it's already, the two are already connected together.
Right.
That is what they call it a mission.
Yeah.
And so one caveat also with salary portage is it's not free for all in terms of, I can work for them in this same job forever. There is a limit. So each contract can only be up to 36 months.
Okay.
So at the end of 36 months, you have to have a different mission. You have to have a different thing that you're doing, whether it be the same employer or a different employer. So it's about, you're not going to be able to be, like, I'm not going to be able to do this position in this exact same, work indefinitely. It's going to have to change.
Okay, so that's that's an important.
Very important. So so it's just something to be aware of, and you do have to be ready at the end to either you're going to be changing over, you're going to be doing something different for that company. So a different mission. But during that time, you're solid. You're doing your mission, all that kind of thing. Every month I have my ITG portal. I go in, I create my invoice. It gets sent to my company, Emilio, and Emilio pays it, and then it shows up in my account, and I have.
Wow, awesome. So, I mean, I know we've already talked about, like, actually this is a better, like, much lower liability way to have a remote employer, but you still got to pitch this to your employer.
Yes. Yeah.
So how'd that conversation go?
So I was, I'm very lucky. Even though we're a small company, we're a diverse company. So we actually have contractor, like we have a software engineer who's in Italy. And so
okay.
now he's not doing so. It's like a 1099 deal with, but
Yeah, well, they have different rules. I mean, every
totally
country is
different
like,
rules.
yeah.
So thank goodness there was already kind of a built-in open-mindedness with my boss, but it was really just nuts and bolts. It was really like I went in and I kind of did my own French labor code research, and I kind of did, and Daniel's colleague Jessica was great. She provided a lot of kind of information of this is why this is good.
Okay.
Basically, what wins the day is you as Emilio are not at risk of French coming knocking at your door, basically saying, you're doing business over here. You've got an employee, so now you owe us taxes.
Exactly, which I think is usually the reason that a remote employer will say no.
Right.
And this is actually presenting a solution for that costs them actually nothing because you pay for it.
Exactly. And the one hurdle, and they still want to know, well, what's our, what if we fire you? What's our liability and that kind of thing?
No, that's a really good question.
And it's very, very clear in the ITG to Emilio contract. It is very clear where that liability lies, and it is not with your U.S. employer.
Okay.
Now there's a procedure and a process for them to quote terminate a mission.
Right.
But they don't have I can't go sue them.
Yeah.
Because I'm not their employee.
Yeah. Okay.
My employer is ITG, and that's why. You get a French paycheck, it pays into unemployment, it pays into pension, it pays into
all the same benefits any other French employee has. Yeah.
Also, because that whole 36 mission thing can be worrying.
It is. Yeah, I'm still thinking about it.
So, but also when you're working with ITG salaried portage, you're not limited to one mission at a time. So you're a consultant. So technically you can consult with 50 different companies at once. And you could have staggered missions going around that can still, so as long as you're through different missions maintaining your, salary requirement and all that kind of thing, you're fine.
Yeah.
You have to, now ITG doesn't go and find you those things, that's on you.
Of course not. They're your, I love thinking of them as like HR department,
that's
right?
your HR department.
Yeah, they're not recruiting.
Right. But you can go find, mission B and get another mission with them, and they same thing, invoice, same contract, and you have two different things. There's no limit.
Wait, and that could be within the French economy because the talent blue card allows you to work in the French economy. This is a beautiful and elegant solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that almost means like you kind of, again, it's a little bit like the best of both worlds, because when you're here just on a salary employee visa, because I think a lot of people are like, the dream is to find a French job, right? And then, just move, and but that's really difficult to do. And in this case, you kind of have the freedom to do some more other, to diversify what you're doing, as if in some ways you're working as more of an independent consultant.
Right.
But at the same time, you're in the, the tax system and the, all the things that you would be as a French
Absolutely.
employee.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And then it also, another benefit is, I'm a French employee, so I've already, once again, Daniel's firm, they're already doing my carte vitale. Our carte vitale paperwork is already in the works because I'm a French employee. So
you've been paying since day one into the French system.
Day one.
Yeah.
And so the same waiting requirements and money stuff don't necessarily apply.
Right. Yeah. It's and actually that's the same. The professions liberale is the same, because as soon as you come, you set up your company, and then as soon as you have it set up and you're in the social system, you don't have the same waiting period because you're paying into the system. Yeah.
Just as an example, let's say you're doing, I don't know, you're creating spreadsheets for them under this mission.
Yeah.
Your next mission, you need to maybe be working on partnership engagement. Okay. So it's a different thing.
A different.
You're bringing something new to the table. It's technically a different mission, because what they don't want, and it makes sense, is you to just use this as a way to,
forever
and ever and ever.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And this also, it feels like, having that initial period of time where you're integrating also will increase other options that might be available to you when it's time to make that switch too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. So you mentioned that they take the 7% off the top.
Yep.
How else has it felt different? I think there's a lot of people, sometimes we'll see people worried that they're going to pay 50% in, French taxes and social charges, and they're really nervous about that, especially if you're in the U.S. and feel like you're just barely kind of getting by, imagining paying a much higher amount in taxes can feel a little daunting or stressful. So tell me about like, how has that been? How does it compare?
Oh yeah. So we're in more rural France. So rural France is just, the cost of living is so much less than the U.S. in general. And when I say less, that doesn't mean you're giving up any kind of quality. It's great. It's amazing quality for less. It's like my U.S. brain, it doesn't compute sometimes. Like, hang on, like I should be paying a lot more for this. I'm glad I'm not. But
meaning like housing and food,
rent, food, transportation. I mean, all those things. It's a lot cheaper. And I had technically in New York, I had I was working two jobs. I had this one, and I was also assistant DA. So I had like two income. We moved here. I'm not going to say a number, but we're making significantly less than we were in the U.S. Still qualifying for this visa, but honestly, based on the quality of life and expenses, you wouldn't know it.
Wow.
Roughly speaking, tax-wise, what ultimately I'm paying in taxes, somewhere in the realm of 33% of my salary is going to taxes. That being said, and I can already hear like all the U.S. people's puckering, because I did the same thing when I was researching. I was like, but for what you're getting for the bang of the buck and the infrastructure that's set up here, where honestly, I don't like paying. Nobody does. Nobody likes paying taxes, and you don't see where it's going, and you don't see a benefit. When you pay taxes here, you see the benefit. Mm-hmm. You see it in the railroad infrastructure. You see it in the energy infrastructure. You see it in all of these ways that it is directly benefiting you. Yeah. So that you can you're not taking it home as much, but you don't have to. Yeah.
I think of it as like, in the U.S., I felt like there was so many things that you have to pay for that are really expensive, like healthcare and housing and childcare and transportation, and everybody is just on their own for that stuff, right? Yeah. You just got to figure it out, right? You need a car in most places. You got to figure that out. You got to figure out. I mean, all of this stuff we're all doing individually, and then whatever's left over is what you got to work with. Right. And I feel like in France, everyone is like, that's the point of things like insurance, right? Where everyone is putting money into huge projects that need way more than any of us to individually, necessarily be thinking about, like healthcare, like education, like transportation systems. And here in France, I feel like those things are just, I'm paying for those things in a way that I don't have to think about them, right? Like, I don't have to think about it. And so, it's less stress. And in the end, Jason and I one time did this, like we spent a whole day with a whiteboard, and it never made it to a video. Sorry, y'all. But like comparing in the end, what you really end up with at the end of the day, right? And for a median salary, you're probably pretty close to the same place, except for I don't have, what I don't do every November now is decide on my healthcare plan. Right. And spend the day. Yeah. Let's see, would I like the $2 million deductible, or would I like, because as a society, like, that's taken care of, right? And I am so happy to contribute to that and not think about it. So I definitely think there's something, it's not an apples to oranges. No, not at all. I think one other thing when you're talking to your employer too, there's a time difference. We're 6 hours ahead of Eastern time here. So you have to work out that work schedule logistics. For me, some jobs, it doesn't make as much of a difference. For me, because of the nature of what I do have to be engaged a lot with clients and prospective clients on East Coast, like U.S. time. Okay. Yeah. So the solution and part of the sell was, you want to make this as painless to your U.S. company as possible, so they see as little impact. Right. So basically, my day, I go to work at 3 p.m. instead of starting my day at 8. Okay. So that's 9 o'clock, East Coast time, and I just work late into the evening. But the mornings and that's my time. Yeah. So I still get plenty of sleep. I wake up, I have my mornings, I have my afternoon, I can do whatever I want, and then I go to work in the afternoon. Yeah. So that's felt okay so far? To quote my boss, she says, I haven't even, I know you're gone, but I haven't even noticed a difference. Yeah. Like, okay. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad you brought that up though, because it is something to plan for, right? Yes. Because not like some people are morning people and they just it's hard, staying up into the evening and being like on, but not every, I mean, I think Jason's a night owl. I think he would be on that schedule otherwise. And then, I mean, also thinking about if you have kids, that can be a little tough. Like we struggle sometimes because we're working on US time too a lot. And, like you're working around school pickup and dinner time. So those are considerations I think that are good. You just want to think about how you're going to manage that ahead of time.
Absolutely.
Because it's not unmanageable. It's just, you don't want to realize like, Pacific time too. You think that the difference is a lot more. Any of you who have gotten up at 5 a.m. to meet with us? Thank you.
Yeah.
We know.
I've had to, since I've been over here, there have been a few meetings. I think the worst is we've even had some meetings with some folks in Hawaii. That one's been tough. But they're few and far between. Yeah. I can make it work.
Yeah. You probably plan for that, right?
Yes.
Like, days that I know we have late, like I try to sleep in a little that day. Yep. I don't, it's the same as if I was going to have a long day during the day in the US. That night, I'm not also going to plan to go hike a mountain.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So you're managing your time in the same way.
Yeah.
Just, it's reverse of what most of us have done.
Yeah.
So.
And it's just, I would say the more you can go to your US company with a nicely clean, planned out package that highlights all of the ease and how I'm taking all this burden off of you. It's actually going to make your life easier with no impact. The more you can just hand that to them, the easier it is for them to say, let's make it happen.
100%. Yeah, no, totally. And the fact that I love what you just said about you're handing like a well-formed plan to them.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like, oh, well, maybe, you've got like you have this laid out, right? How little this will affect them.
Right.
So we've talked about like this whole process, and then 4 years.
Yep.
At the end of that 4 years, like how's the renewal go?
The same. You have the same renewal processes as anything else, so it can just get renewed. And based on what I can see is some possible legislation working through. By the time that comes around, it might be automatic.
Yeah.
Because this is the type of visa where that would fall into the automatic renewal realm. But it would just be like any other renewal, so it can be renewed for another 4 years. Okay. We will, because it's only 4 years long, we'll have to renew it once. Yeah. But then, we met that 5 year, we can transition to the 10-year or citizenship. So.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. There's a path.
There is a path.
Yeah, there's a path. Yeah. Okay. Well, any just closing words of encouragement, advice, anything that you want to leave people with as we wrap up this as a strategy?
It's doable. It's you'll see the horse video. It's daunting, but it's doable. Get I worked with Daniel's firm. They're amazing. There's other firms. I'm not, they're not paying me to say that, but they're amazing. It takes a big weight off of you to have that kind of expertise and help. Yeah. So it's daunting. It's very doable. It is clean. Yeah. It takes some convincing, but it is clean. And if your goal is to change your life, do it. So I guess what I would say is do the scary thing. You only live once. Do the scary thing. Make it happen. Take the risks. You're not going to regret it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. We're ending there.
I like it.
All right. Hey, thanks for watching.
A bientôt.